conspiracies, extraterrestrials, the occult. Gather around the lunch table, children. Don't try to get up. He won't let you leave. It's Weird Wednesday with Mr. Streble.
I can't fade that one down, so there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. Welcome in. I'll let Streble take over from here in just a sec, but it's ESPN Louisville Plus. Welcome in, everybody, to Weird Wednesdays After Dark. Your host today, James Streble, and then I'm here, and of course, the lovely Anna Tarullo as well, and I will now pass it on to the big guy.
All right. Hey, welcome in, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is something that Justin and Anna and myself, I've all kind of wanted to do for a while. The Weird Wednesday segment's so popular that I talked about maybe doing an hour show and podcast it once a week and really be able to dive deep. And I know Justin and Anna are interested in the topic and ask really good questions and have awesome comments. So the three of us talking about it, it's going to be a lot of fun. But thanks for joining us. There'll be some talk about what I discussed today on Weird Wednesday, but some new stuff too that I didn't mention. I teased it, but I wanted to hold it over for here. The main topics today are going to be the U.S. government disclosure stuff, of course, but then how it ties into Steven Spielberg's upcoming film Disclosure Day, which is being described as a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I'll tell you how those two movies maybe tie together and what Steven Spielberg may or may not know, how it ties back into Disclosure. And as I said earlier, I have an update for today's Weird Wednesday story. But before we dive into and text into the show, like, subscribe, leave comments and all that good stuff. We appreciate it. Justin's channel continues to grow and we wanted to make sure that happens. But before we get started, Justin, Anna, you two have shown a lot of interest in the segment and the topic. Anna, when you were on the air with me, you really kind of started to deep dive into some things, even after the show, like books and stuff we talked about or movies, and you'd read them, listen to the podcast, watch the movies. So before we start, how did you two really get into this topic? When was the first time you started thinking about these things, and what's your inspiration to stay curious about it? And if you want to start, go ahead.
James Streble, you're my inspiration. I'm going to start with that. No, I'm just kidding. But you are. But I will say, yeah, it's kind of funny thinking about when I first started coming on the radio with you, and I just feel like my whole mindset is different now. I've grown so much as a person, but I don't know. I've always been, I guess, growing up watching, what was it? Unsolved Mysteries with my mom. I don't know, where we were kind of always into like spooky, weird things. And then I think you had a tweet when you took over and you started the round table. I think you were like, we're talking about aliens and stuff. I was like, that's my dream, radio, sports and aliens and weird stuff. And I think that's maybe where you got the idea. We're like, well, you should come on the show sometime. So that's where our great partnership was born. But I don't know. I've always been into just weird, wacky things, whether it's conspiracy theories or it's, I don't know, I guess it started with like ghosts and stuff. I don't know, just creepy things that I like. But you take it to a whole new level, and I think there's so much to learn there, and I can't wait to hear about what we're going to talk about today. Soforo.
Yeah.
Looks like Strible's in witness protection.
It does. He's Go ahead, Streble.
I was supposed to say I'm outside because it's bedtime for my wife and kids, and she has to get up at 5 in the morning, and then I don't want to wake baby Reed. So I moved outside so they can have some peace. They can have some peace and quiet, and I can have some peace and quiet. And plus, it adds to the ambiance.
Yeah, it really does. It reminds me. Did y'all ever watch what was it called? Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh
yes, yeah.
And they'd be around the campfire. That's what Streble is giving right now.
I felt like it was going to be like I'm over here hanging out and I'm in witness protection. It was in 1967 when I was taken.
Anyway, That's gonna be like one of those
Great.
things. Yeah, I never use any of
Perfect.
this stuff, any of the little sound effects and all that. But yeah, that's what I thought Streble was gonna start talking when he was doing it. Anyway, though, no, this has been something that's always kind of fascinated me. Streble's talked about it. I think Anna and I've talked about it on the channel and everything like that. Like we're not shy about our faiths. Like we believe in God, we believe in and all that. And Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. Anyway, but as well, there's interest and intrigue when it comes to the unknown. And I think like there's some experiences that I know, like I have family, my granddad who's 90 whatever, 92, and he had an experience when he was out in Las Vegas that he's talked to me about. My uncle, both of them were air traffic controllers. To clarify, it wasn't just being out in Las Vegas drinking. It was they were air traffic controllers, and there's a lot of interesting things that happen at those airports at night. So there's a little bit of that. Growing up, similar to Streble, Streble talked about this. Justin Jeffries was a little bit freaked out by this, saying that you like to go to sleep to this. But no, I used to listen to it all the time. George Norrie, Art Bell, all that when I was a kid, and listen to Coast at night. I remember playing video games up till 4 a.m. listening to those throughout high school and during the summers, especially middle school, high school, all that good stuff. And I always like to get into some of the different little conspiracy theories out there, especially the one that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah. So for me, it was when I was a kid. They used to show this show that was narrated by Leonard Nimoy, called In Search Of, and it was all about these weird topics, in search of UFOs, in search of Bigfoot, in search of the pyramids. And so that really piqued my interest, because like you, Justin, during the summer I'd stay up late and I'd watch those shows. They'd play them really late at night on like your public access TV, and I'd watch that, and then that went to the X-Files and Unsolved Mysteries, and then after those two shows I kind of stopped believing and stopped looking at it for a little while. Then I got back into it, and it really started with podcasts, and the podcast that got me going back on this track. It's called Astonishing Legends. It's fantastic. Scott Philbrook and Forrest Burgess are the hosts, two guys that I've had communication with, super nice guys. And then it spiraled from there, and here I am today, just more interested than I've ever been in my life. So that's kind of how I got here. And I did have one experience, but that wasn't the experience that got me into this. I did this was after I had been interested in the topic. It was about 3 years ago, and we were, as a family, on our way to bowling. We were meeting another family there. We're the couples were gonna eat pizza and drink beer. The kids were gonna bowl and do laser tag, and we're in Indiana, and we're turning onto the expressway, and it was my mother-in-law was in the car with us, and she looked up, and she didn't believe in any of this at all. Neither does my wife. She looked in the sky and saw this object. She's like, James. She's like, look at this. Like, look at this thing out here. And I looked, and it was just that and this is because maybe it's been injected into our collective American consciousness, but that, tic tac white object, and it was just still in the air, wasn't moving. It was just up there. And and at first it's like, is this a drone? But it was too big. And like I said, there was no motion at all. And then Kellen saw it, and then my wife saw it. And I tried it, and everyone's like, take a picture. Why don't you take a picture? I took like 3 pictures, and they all sucked. Like, they all sucked. You couldn't really see anything. It's like, if I put this out here, they'd be like, bull crap. Like, you didn't see anything. There's nothing in the picture. And so it's like, I know that's the cliche story that we all hear about this stuff, but it really happened. It's really true. And I don't talk about this a ton because I don't want people to think that I'm just making it up or whatever. Like, I really experienced this, and it's just out of nowhere. It just went, shoo, and just went up, and it was gone. It was just gone. It was white. This was like in the evening. It's probably like, evening, summertime, 7:30, 8 p.m. So it was still kind of light out when it happened. So yeah, it was freaking wild. So that's kind of, after seeing it, I was like, it was weird because I would talk about it, but when I brought it up to my wife and mother-in-law, they would just kind of just like, yeah, it was a drone. It was a drone. I was like, you all saw that. That was not a drone, because they just didn't want to believe in it. And that's fine. Like that's that's what they do. So there we go.
Yeah.
I think that's like a human like defense thing to be like, oh, it was normal, it was fine. Because like, I don't know, you just feel like, why am I the lucky one to see it? You talk yourself out of it. Go ahead, Sofro.
Sorry, real quick, and I want to, John Gernert 503, I want to address this because there's also just something that, and I've talked about it before, something that people don't realize outside of like Twitter, the people that are on YouTube, a lot of people find us. Most of our, I think we're at 3,000 whatever subscribers are people that have found us kind of organically through talking UK UFL and words like this. So this may shock some people when they're like, what are they doing? John, if you haven't, you need to check out ESPN Louisville, ESPN 680 and 93.9 The Ville. If you like Louisville talk, Kentucky, Big Rig loves to attack Louisville fans, but it's good entertainment, and people can tell. I had somebody talking when we were doing the live stream the other day about how good-hearted, even though Streble's saying some mean and ugly things, they can still tell that he's good-hearted in what he does. But anyway, yes, ESPN Louisville, this is that, but this is part of the show that Streble does. There's a lot more to what we do at ESPN Louisville. So welcome. Hope you sit down. Hope you enjoy some of this conversation. And, like I said, we'll talk some sports and stuff as well. Anna and I will be, hopefully this Sunday we'll be live at 9.
Yes.
Don't bet on it right now, but that's, I'm going to try. We're going to try to make it happen.
We're going to try.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to get started on the topic?
We can get into it. Do you want me to are we doing the video?
Oh, no, not yet. I want to kind of set up to that. Okay. All right. So I want your all's thoughts first, and then I'll tie it into the movie. But all right. So as you all know, for the first time in human history, our government decided to, quote, disclose, unquote, the UFO topic because of pressure from media, traditional and non-traditional media, and then it started bleeding into their own halls of Congress, where you have people like Tim Burchett and Adriana Paulina Luna lead kind of a bipartisan coalition to get this stuff out of the hands of the Department of Justice and the FBI and NASA, whoever, whichever places are holding this material. And so now we have this situation to where the president is talking about it, on television and in interviews, and he's like, okay, fine. He's like, we'll release it and we'll do it in, about bi-weekly increments. And so far we've received 2 dumps ranging back to the 1940s, pre and post World War II, talking about Nazis and UFOs and what they were doing with them and about them, and the Apollo astronauts that are live on their microphones describing weird things that they're seeing in space, and you can read those transcripts and you can hear those sounds, and then videos and this treasure trove of information, thousands and thousands of pages. So I went through both as best as I could and looked at some of the stuff and listened and read some of the stuff, and I was left underwhelmed. And I think that's the way most people are feeling, is kind of like, we've seen or heard an iteration of this at some point, leading up to this moment. Like, there's nothing groundbreaking or completely mind-blowing that confirms nor denies anything. And it's just, like I said, it's similar to things that we've seen before on, documentaries on Amazon. A great one is Moment of Contact. And there's, of course, Age of Disclosure and all these things. Like, we've seen it before. So people have been underwhelmed. There hasn't been a frenzy or a freak out of the American populace, which is,
of course,
kind of telling. And we can get to that later when we talk about the movie. But what about you two? I mean, what have you thought so far about the information? What have you looked at? What have you heard? What are your opinions on it?
I'll go first. Yeah, I think it's just things are going bad for President Trump and this administration. You're in the middle of this war that is not going well. Let's find a time to distract people. And what's so funny is I feel like the American population right now is like, we don't care about aliens. We cannot afford gas. You know, I feel like this
Yeah.
is hilarious that this
Mhm.
is the time that they're doing this. And just like you said, I mean, for nothing really big to be disclosed, it almost feels like this. It feels like War of the Worlds. Like, and now looking back, all of that seems like such a propaganda thing. And I know we're going to get into this with Steven Spielberg too. I'm like, are you an agent of the government? Like how they were accidentally
Yeah.
reading War of the Worlds on air and like, what was it, the 40s? And everyone happened to believe it. Like, people aren't that stupid. Like, you were leading them to believe this. And it just makes me go back to like, if you read and you listen to a lot about the history of UFO sightings. And, you know, I guess the first one was 1947 or 48 in Roswell, New Mexico. And it was just around the time that, you know, the nuclear technology, they were testing that in the same, you know, desert in the same region, but also that was getting popular and all this new technology. And with World War II and, you know, the Foo Fighters, and it's the first time you really have a lot like an Air Force, right? And they're saying it's all government based. It's all, to me, it just feels very much like propaganda. I'm like, of all times that is your focus, there's not 100 other things going on, government, that this is like, let's talk about aliens now as if it were like an imminent threat. But yeah, I believe it less and less. I do believe I do believe there's some sort of beings out there, but the more time goes on, I'm like, this is just used as a psyop or like a prop of the government to distract us. Because if you look at any time it's been brought up or during the Cold War, whatever. But yeah, and I'm like, of all, you don't have other things to focus on right now, Congress? Okay, I don't care. And I think the rest of the population feels the same way. They're like, all right, I don't even know, you know, I think the bigger threat than aliens is the war we're in right now.
There's an interesting thing with me. Like I'll be honest, I'm over here sitting here listening, and I listened to you earlier today at 4:30 Streble, and you kind of discussed it earlier. And there were some pieces that I agree with, some pieces that I disagree with, some pieces that I'm trying to fully, I guess, still articulate or formulate what my perception of what this is. Yes, there's a lot of this that's happened, and I'm not trying to go full, Israel and all that, but there's some Israel stuff that comes out there that makes me question some things. I'm going to try to stay politically safe with that. But then there's also, like, I don't know, like my entire life, like even throughout my childhood, the entire concept, regardless of what my faith tells me and what the Bible tells me, like there's still part of me that feels like I don't see, it almost feels incomprehensible that this can be it, that we are it, that we are all that there is out there, if that makes sense. And that it couldn't be, or that there isn't something more intelligent than you and me calling each other bum asses about the sports teams that we like. Like, you know what I mean? Like it seems incomprehensible that there isn't some other form of life. And I've watched people, I've listened to people talk about their experiences with extraterrestrials or what they perceive to be extraterrestrials. We talk about the theories of where if they exist. You talked about Bigfoot and her bazongas and all that recently. We talked about all that. Like, but there's these different concepts. I also just find that really interesting. For a long time, we talked about how, the idea of Bigfoot being, every time you bring up as an extraterrestrial or another dimensional being, and I'm going too far down the rabbit hole to begin with for people that are just coming on here. I'm referencing stuff that people's talked about for new viewers and listeners. But the idea of Bigfoot being Chewbacca in Star Wars, and Anna doesn't know this because she hasn't watched Star Wars. We're gonna make her watch Star Wars one day, but she's gonna watch Star Wars.
I've never seen Close Encounters of the Third
One
Kind.
day, Anna.
Well,
yeah, sure.
One day. But if you're gonna put it that up front and out there, and Chewbacca is one of the main characters in there, who is basically Bigfoot. That's kind of interesting to me, like that idea. But anyway, sorry, I'm going way too down the rabbit hole with this.
I like that,
but. It's interesting to me though that they're putting out videos of UAP, putting out all this information, underwhelming information, to be clear, like not pictures of alien bodies, or not pictures of even the stuff that we argue, is this fake, is it real, the mummies down in Mexico or Peru or wherever the hell they were, and that kind of stuff. It's little ships or little things darting across the sky, things that could be AI, clearly.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that it's being put out there and really nobody's talking about it. CNN won't. I mean, CNN, but like I put, I work at City Hall. I have CNN or Fox News running all day just to see what nonsense that they're going to put out there, either side about whatever.
Right.
Not even a sniff. Not even like the tiniest bit of attention is being laid in this. The only time you're going to see stuff like this is if you get on TikTok. And like I was like, the TikTok, that's for the kids. I'm not getting on TikTok. It's for the kids or women shaking their bits or whatever it is. That's what it is. But I heard my boss with the former FBI guy who I work for. I call my boss. He's like a father to me. But I remember back in like 2020 around that time, he was like, do you ever get on the TikTok? And I'm like, no, that's for the children. That's what they look at. But since then, I don't know if you've gotten on there, but there's like interesting stuff. That's where you'll see this kind of stuff. That's where you'll see this kind of conversation. Is it China trying to shove it down our throats and distract us? I don't know. But it's just very interesting to me. And I'm sorry that I've kind of rambled on too long, but it's interesting to me that it's not a bigger story. To me, this is the story. I probably since I watched Star Wars that I'm like, can that be real in any capacity? Could that be real? Could bad pause. Could there be like trans Earth or planet flight? You know what I mean? Like, is that a thing where there could be between planets or whatever? That is fascinating to me. So as soon as you have all these stories about aliens, about different, species, about whatever off of this planet or not, that is fascinating to me. And that would be the biggest story in history, I feel like. And the fact that it's not being talked about is confusing to me.
Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah,
also, I just
agree
want to say
all of that.
Go ahead, Streble.
I just say I agree with all of what you both said about the the propaganda portion that Anna was talking about, the Justin discussing how traditional media has just poo-pooed this like it's nothing, and the only way you can see it, as Justin said, is on social media. It's on. I'm not on TikTok, but my wife is, and she tells me, and y'all are telling me, X. It's flooded with it. I mean, it is, depending on your algorithm, if you're doing For You or, the follow or whatever. But, if you want to find it and go deep diving into it, it's out there. You're just not going to find the traditional media talking about it. So, no, both strong points there. We're going to tie all this in to now, which is the portion of, of course, while all this is going on, Steven Spielberg, who may be the greatest director of all time, is releasing a movie called Disclosure Day. That is his take on how society would react if everybody collectively found out that we are not alone. And I was intrigued by that because I'm like, well, that's odd. And now this movie was announced about a year and a half ago or whatever that he was working on it, and that was before all the disclosure stuff. So it and I'm gonna talk about this later. Revelation of the method. Okay, it's a thing that magicians do. Think of it like this: like, what's the old wives' tale about vampires? Right? They knock on the door; they can't come in unless you invite them in. Right? Yep. And then, if you invite them in and they enter your space, then they can do harm. Revelation of the method. The idea behind this is they do the same thing to us through media. Like, they give us subliminal, and sometimes in this case not so subliminal messages, as this is what's going to happen, and if you consume this and you talk about this and you revere this, in some cases with movies and music and whatever, like they win awards, that you are consenting to it happening to you. So this is kind of ties into the revelation of method, right? We've been, Steven Spielberg made Close Encounters of the Third Kind in the 1970s. That's really the first time that the world at large really got to see what a modern version of an alien looked like, with the skinny arms and the big heads and the eyes and the slit for the mouth and all that stuff. And that'd been in the consciousness of the public ever since Aleister Crowley drew his picture of his quote, his guardian angel, his entity, right? So
Yeah.
that was kind of really the first one we've ever seen. And then, if you were into the occult and you knew about things like that, then you would, you would recognize that, or the story, of Betty and Barney Hill and abductees. But if you weren't tapped into that, you wouldn't have known what this thing they're talking about looked like. And so they reveal that, and then that's on the, on cover of books like Communion, and it's like kind of the prototypical being that they use in movies and commercials and this, that, and the other. And so this is kind of like the next step to this. Okay, this is what they look like. This is whatever we want you to believe this looks like. Now let's see what happens when you interact with this as a society. And if you want to play the trailer, Justin, you can go ahead and do that whenever. So this is the trailer. This is the last trailer of the movie. You get a glimpse of the being at the very end, and watch the change that occurs. Go ahead.
Give me 1 second. I want to make sure it's on both of these, but okay, I think we're good now.
Okay.
Bro, I have strong
All right, reaction.
thoughts.
Okay, Anna, go ahead. Fire away.
I'm just gonna say this has not made me more hesitant or scared of aliens. It's made me more questionable towards Steven Spielberg and his relationship with the government and what they're trying to tell us. I just have to say, it's so interesting that they put it through the viewpoint of media, and this is from somebody who used to work in local news, that they're putting it through like the viewpoint of local news media and trying to humanize them and be like, everything they tell us is true and from their own emotions, and it's just so blah, 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 blah.
Wow.
That's BS. That's BS.
Wow,
and they're
that's
trying
great.
to instill fear, be like, what if this and it came into your room, and that's how the whole thing starts. Also just reminds me of like the war movies. Like, think about any war movie that we've ever seen. And did you know the Department of Defense funds some of our movies, our films that are made? So it just makes you feel like, Turner,
the CIA and the Air Force funded the first Top Gun. The CIA and the Air Force funded the first Top Gun.
Yes, but have them play volleyball and like do a good song in there. Like this, like it's so it's just like it's a government thing. And then I just feel like, oh, the 79 years of cover up, and let's finally reveal the truth. And they play on our human emotions of like, do you have the capacity for empathy? And this is going to be your purpose. It's so obviously propaganda. I can't even handle it. And how can Steven Spielberg sit there at the end and say, this is the truth? I'm sorry, how do you know it's the truth? What gives you the authority to tell us this is the truth? Also, Emily Blunt has too much cheek filler, and she might be the alien because she looks like one. She's got too much going on up there. She looks weird. Also, I will say, one time, I wouldn't say I met Steven Spielberg, but I walked out of a building behind him, like through the doors right behind him.
What?
I did. Yes, I did. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, So I did a study abroad.
Wait, this is the story. This is the story now.
And this is why we've had you tune in tonight. But so I did a study abroad at the Cannes Film Festival. This was like 2013. I don't know what movie he had there or anything, but we were at this like Hotel Antibes. It was so cool. And we were just like, well, it was me and a friend. They kind of let us do our own thing. We're walking out of this hotel, and there's like all this paparazzi waiting out there. And they're all like, Steven. And we're like, what the heck is going on? And it was Steven Spielberg. Like, we literally walked out right behind him. It was cool. But now I don't.
It's unfortunate that we're talking about this right now.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm just sickened. But my final thought is that I'm sickened by the obvious propaganda, and that's why the hell nobody's talking about this shit. Because we all are. Like, and they're doing every last ditch effort. The government, whoever it is doing every last ditch effort. But it's so obvious. How can he sit there at the end of that trailer and be like, I'm going to tell you the truth. Steven Spielberg, what the fuck do you know about the truth? Are you in the government? Do you have access to the files? What the fuck are you trying? Why the fuck should I believe you? Sorry, we can cuss on this medium.
Yes, we can. Yes.
That's just more proof that Anna Tarullo
Get him, honey.
leads a completely different life than the rest of us. That she lives in a completely different world.
No,
I just happened to be walking behind Steven Spielberg at the Cannes Film Festival.
Well, you should be glad it's not now, because my ass would have been arrested. I would have been like, Steven, what the fuck? Why are you doing propaganda? Who's paying you?
Streble, this happens like once a week now since we've been doing the show where I'm like, we live totally different lives. We're talking for a couple hours at times, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't have that experience at the buffet of the Asian buffet. I didn't have that while I was waiting in line for my cream puffs or whatever the hell they're gonna serve me. No, that didn't happen. But no, that's fascinating.
What did you think, Justin?
So, see, this is where I have, so much of this goes to, Project Bluebeam and talking about, all the fake, the whole idea of the government faking stuff, this happening. But again, there's part of me that, I'll tell you this. This isn't the first time I've seen this trailer last week. So my wife and kids were all out of town on vacation while I was stuck at home. And I decided I'm going to go see a movie. I'm going to go see The Mandalorian and crap and bleeping Grogu or whatever. And as I was sitting there waiting for this movie by myself, like Steven Glansberg watching this movie, sitting in this theater, that trailer comes on. And I had a reaction to it where I kind of like how Anna did there. And like my face, I was disgusted, kind of. I don't know why, but I was disgusted watching it because it was just like, it was too on the nose. It's too on the nose of what they're talking about right now. And it's just way too much. Right. And then people are going to be way too willing. And there's, KSR listeners, sorry. They're the lowest common denominator of human beings will eat this up and will absolutely be like, oh, they won't lie to me. You know what I mean? Like, Luther over here. Just kidding, Luther. I see you in the chat. I see you over here. But I don't know. Like, I hate to be the fence sitter guy, but like, there's so many parts to it that, and there's so many different theories on what we are, what we're here for, on top of our own faith and the reasoning behind there. But there's just, I don't know. But like, I guess my question is, what is the reasoning now for it? You talked about it earlier today about demons and, angels and stuff like that for a little bit earlier. And that's been the thing where I've had conversations. I remember we went to Pittsburgh with my wife and her family, and we were out drinking one night, and her father, who's just, very Christian man, he you look at him, he doesn't look like you or me. He's like skinny and like whatever, and like very put together and like, whatever, just very, I wouldn't say uptight, but just like very, that way. So traditional. Traditional. And we're I'm drinking, he's not drinking, but we're drinking, talking, and then one of her friends, we started talking about it, and I asked him, I was like, what's your opinion on aliens? Because I'm just expecting that shit ain't real and whatever. You all are, not talking like that, but yes, in a way. But that was like the first time he kind of brought the theory about it being demons or something related to that than actually being about aliens to me in my life. Because I never, instead of being extraterrestrial, being extra dimensional, and a lot of extra dimensional things could lead to being demons. You talked about, and I heard you and Matt McGavick discussing today about things that we can't see, things that are not on our purview, or not on our scope, because we only need what we need to survive. But we talk about like, if you the idea of having a guardian angel that would kind of fit some entity or some being that we cannot perceive, that we cannot know, that has guided you through whatever. Maybe Jesus taking the wheel, the guardian angel taking the wheel is kind of is something like that in that in that kind of theory. And it was interesting to me. It stuck out to me because that's just something that like to me that. My twin brother, who used to be way more into the stuff than I ever would be, but he was talking about like the different layers of dimensions and all this, and I was like, "You're a dumbass, you're an idiot, whatever kind of thing." But then, like as I've dove more into this stuff, and you hear it, I'm like, "Man, that's you talk about coming from a different like." the Wookiee that people have taken pictures of and stuff like that out in the woods of like being interdimensional. That stuff fascinates me. It also kind of makes me worried about like, if there's things that you can't see, like you talk about, demons in people's lives and like, we talk about depression and we talk about stuff like that, putting that on people. And that there's just literally something following you. We talk about, the idea of ghosts and demons in that sort as well. Like you go to Waverly Hills or you go to what's it, Bobby Mackey's and stuff like that, and something follows you and stays with you, and you can feel that presence. Is that what that is? Are these things related? That stuff just kind of intrigues me, but also is kind of terrifying. Like, you know, you're I was about to make a joke, but I can't do it because Anna's here and it's inappropriate.
You can do it. Make the joke. Okay. See, we're friends now, Streble. Look at this.
Your teenage boy's finding himself in his room.
I know
is there a demon in there in the room watching him? That's creeping me out. That terrifies me. When I was in high school, when that Playboy came out, I guess
Playboy is the demon. Why don't you get that?
With the pages of the Playboy that weren't stuck together, they weren't sticky.
The portal, yeah.
Was there a demon in that room with you when you were going through puberty? I'm just asking. I'm asking because you're a pervert, buddy. That guy's a pervert. Like, why are you watching? Why are you watching? Anyway, sorry. That's where my mind went when you and McGavick were talking about it.
That's hilarious. That's the hardest I've laughed in a long time. The demon that watches you.
I don't think demons are watching. I think demons are
manipulating, participating,
influencing.
Yeah.
Well, which poor demon gets that assignment? Like what? That's a new kind of hell.
Can I say something
for eternity?
Anna and I have come a long way. We've come a long way.
Can you believe this friendship that has developed?
The friendship that she and I have at this point, it's almost too comfortable.
Shocking.
I feel like at this
point,
right? Anyway, I'm sorry.
That was really funny.
Let's get back on track.
No,
I apologize, guys.
Well, yeah, no, that's totally fine.
That's totally fine.
So so you just mentioned the previous segment that I did today on Weird Wednesday.
Amy.
So hey, Amy.
I'm sorry.
Hey,
I'm sorry, Amy. I'm sorry, Amy.
No, I love that, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, I played sound of this, the head exorcist in Washington talking about this, we're discussing this UAP stuff that's being leaked from the government.
Not me sending you all that
like,
link, and you played that today. Sorry, I need to listen more. Sorry.
No, you're okay. No. This is why I'm bringing this up.
When she says listen more, she means at all. She means period. She means listen at all. You don't need to say more. Just say at all. It's okay. She's out here with movie stars and stuff. She ain't living the same life you and I are.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's not
Steven Spielberg. So anyway, this priest had this. He's talking about how he thinks that aliens are demons, and that the fast things we see, they can deceive us. It's one of the, I don't want to call them powers, but abilities that they have is to manipulate things. And anyway, so he was talking about that. I played the sound today. This is so weird. And Anna sent it to us during the show, not knowing that I played the sound earlier today. But that priest that had exorcist in Washington has been removed from his position. It says here that Cardinal McElroy, and my phone's being too. There it is. Cardinal McElroy has been removed. Monsignor Stephen Russell is an exorcist for the Archdiocese of Washington. McElroy said that statements made by Monsignor Ronsetti linking UFOs to demonic presence and the center's recent use of social media gravely undermine the church's very precise teachings on the devil, demons, and exorcism.
Oh, I have thoughts on this. Okay,
that's weird.
I have thoughts on this beyond.
Go ahead.
What is that?
Just go on in.
Okay, I have thoughts on this.
Oh,
because...
I dropped my phone. No, it's okay.
Oh, I thought it was the demon. I was kind of like, not that I was hoping it was. I thought it was at least an alien or something. But I'm kind of happy to see that decision come down because I'm kind of sick of these priests that I see doing the pod. And this is just my opinion, but I don't see a lot of people saying it. I'm kind of sick of these priests that are doing the
Oh,
podcast rounds talking about for sure what demons are and that and relating it to these things that's not church teaching. I think you should be a little bit more I don't know. I'm tired. I can't think of the word of it. Just like careful with what you say about that. Even like, I don't know, Father Dan Rehill is a pretty popular exorcist who does the podcast rounds as well. And I remember listening to
yes.
him about a year and a half ago, and he was talking about, he had the same talking points as Ted Cruz about Israel. Like, and this is back when like the public opinion before it had shifted. And he was like, well, it says in the Bible, we should support Israel. And I turned that podcast off immediately. I was like, you don't even know scripture. It was just the Ted Cruz thing. Like, it was so weird to me. And then even Father Chad Ripperger, which like a lot of people like him, but I'm like, isn't the sole purpose of exorcism? It's like, you don't really talk about it outside the room. Like, I don't feel like any like true authentic priest would go out of their way to disclose what's happening. And there's a reason that they talk about, expelling demons and stuff in Latin. Like, I just don't feel like that's something that I feel like it's a very sacred, reverent thing that's not for like an everyday vernacular discussion. And I'm very, 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 I always get wary, leery, I don't know which word to use, but one of them, of these priests that are like publicly having these big like official admissions. And like, I don't know, I feel like my gut, I pretty much trust my moral compass on this, and something about that gives me the ick when there are these priests and it's like an exaggeration on church, or they're taking their own creative liberties on what church teaching should be. And like, say, like, you have to
Right.
be very careful with what you say as a priest, because you're representing in a whole apostolic tradition, right? It's not just you. And I really like today, I saw something about how like Pope Leo was like, we got to make sure like if it's in the Catholic schools and the universities, like it adheres to Catholic teaching. And I really respect that, because I feel like if you're a priest, you just really have to watch what you say. You can't be just opinion based. So I'm cool with that. But then it also makes me think of, look at propaganda campaigns within churches, And so I'm like, who's to say,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not bulletproof, the Catholic Church. Who's to say there can't be some sort of infiltration there where you're talking about things that aren't, that could be a little bit of propaganda.
Absolutely. Just real quick, Justin, I'll let you sound off on that too. But yeah, I hadn't heard that perspective or even thought of that perspective. The perspective that I took with it is maybe he stepped out of line. He was, flying too close to the sun, and that, is there some type of like church doctrine, or not church doctrine, sorry, but some type of like mandate, like that we go along with whatever this deception is. And if you talk bad about the deception, then you're not on board with what we want to do. So that's where my brain went. It's very interesting that you and I, both being Catholic, listened to that sound and heard that story and had two completely different reactions to it. I found that very interesting. But Justin, what were you going to say about that?
No, so like you and I kind of touched on it a little bit before the show, so I know we're doing a show for nobody. But basically, like there's so much when it comes to the Vatican, when it comes to Catholicism, that makes me question. Like I said, I discussed my experience in the Vatican, and just again, it may have been a lack of sleep, 8-hour jet lag, whatever, but there was just something unsettling everywhere walking around there. And there were certain hallways, certain areas that were like, you're not allowed to go in here. These doors are massive. There's just so much that is like unknown in places like that, and the history. And then, like I said, the problem with these, and I guess a good thing that you're doing, that if we're doing this throughout the summer for these little specials, is because there's so many different little rabbit holes you can go down with every topic. Like it's that, that giant. Have you seen the giant? I know you've seen it. Somebody's made the conspiracy theory like poster, which is like it starts here, and then there's like there's like 10,000. Yeah, it's every single thing is connected in some way. So I find that fascinating. When it comes to that, actually, I don't know. I hate it because I'm still really trying to wrap my head about where I sit with this. Because there's part of me that wants to believe that there is some truth to this, but because I've been asking all my life to give me some proof, some evidence, some whatever it is to this. And to me, I don't know. I'm starting to, like, the more and more I listen, the more and more I think about it, it just feels like to me, the demon theory makes more sense. I know Streble said you said today you don't believe that. Like, you don't think that's the truth.
I go back and forth on it, to be honest with you. I just think it's a part of a way to tie, and this could tie into like the last Spielberg sound that we played.
Mm-hmm.
That
we have two we haven't played, right?
Yeah. To insert this UAP topic with religion, and like you're combining the two. And I talked about how, you know, if you start when they really started to cover the UFO topic. I mean, first year was like Kenneth Arnold, and then Roswell, and like when those sightings and that crash happened, you know, it was a spaceship from another planet with, you know, beings that were just more intelligent than us. And they got here because they went really, really fast, because that was our concept, right? At the time of how you get from planet to planet, you gotta, you know, break light speed. And there was no concept really of interdimensional travel on these things. It was like, you know, they're nuts and bolts crafts, and they crash and all these other things, right? So that was, you know, over 40 years, the UFO narrative. That's what it is. And it's just more recently that they've started to integrate the spirituality and an interdimensional aspect into this, talking about the Book of Enoch, and talking about, you know, demons and demonic possession and all these other things. It's like, why are they integrating this topic with religion? And it's like, so from just what I think about it is, you know, if they can integrate this topic into religion, then it's easier for them to control it, right? Because, you know, we're the ones that have contact with these beings, and these are spiritual beings. These are the old gods, and this is, you know, this is our true nature, and, you know, you can't talk to them, but we can. And, you know, we have direct communication through artificial intelligence. We can communicate with these beings through artificial intelligence. This becomes religion, and this is the new higher being, and again, they're directly interconnected. That's kind of where my brain goes with all of this. And then we'll play the last two Steven Spielberg clips here in a second, because I know Justin really wants to react. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Justin.
real quick. That's the part that you spoke on. There's moments, you know, and that's why usually I blow up your phone whenever you do your show, because I have something that I'm like, I gotta react to, like, whatever to that. That was one that I had in my mind when I listened to that and I heard that. My only counterpoint to that, at least the way that I read the United States and the world as it is right now, maybe we're shifting back a little bit closer. But the last 4 years, the last however many years, have not felt like faith, religion, beliefs have been that important to politically in the United States. Like, yes, there's a little bit of when Trump came into office that he, you know, I mean, I had my issues, plenty of issues with him the first time that he, you know, touted the Bible and he threw that thing around, and that bothered me or whatever. I know a lot of people like to associate Trump with that, and, you know, getting the Bible thumpers and people like that. But like, to me, a lot of these things do not coalesce. They do not seem to work well together. At least beliefs and faith and a lot of that. I'm not trying to get too political in this, but my point is, it also just felt so much. And then when you have the other side of the aisle, which has just been kind of anti-faith and religion, and just like, you know, like very much has felt that way. So it almost like when you say about getting people on board because it coalesces with their faith, it almost feels like, why does that matter now? This has been the least faith-filled time it feels like in the country.
You kind of marry science and religion, you know, so it's like both sides of it. You can marry both of it with fear.
Well, exactly. So to counter that point, I would say that's all by design, and that even if you don't have a religion, or you're an atheist, or you're on the fence or whatever, now you do have something that you can look to. You have something physical and tangible and scientific. And yeah, exactly. It's science. So that's why, you know, you have the idea of, you know, I am the science, and this you know, that's why it's now meshing. So you're not, again, it's not just targeting the faithful, it's also targeting the faithless, because now you have like something physical. Sorry, Anna, go ahead.
No, like beyond you. Like I just don't feel like there's any way that there's a coincidence like that at that. It just fits two together too cute. You know what I mean? Also, just like how we don't even know. Thinking about life on other planets, we don't even know if they're skeletal system would look like ours, or their vertebrae, or their
Right.
cellular system. How do they have the exact same elements and technology to make something that we would see and recognize? I feel like if there really is like intelligent life, it's like we're not even really going to see it. It's going to be different than what we would necessarily understand. It's too on the nose for us to recognize it and hit at critical fear points with what's going on in public consciousness. Like, think about how, like I said, so many of these sightings have been around nuclear plants, like going back to when that became, the newest technology. It's like, that's so interesting that, and they're like, oh, maybe they're trying to stop us before we, ruin the whole world. Why would they be that benevolent? Why would they give a shit? You know what I mean?
Do you think they'd look more like the Gamorreans, the Hutts, or the Twi'lek? Do you think, which of those three races do you think like the Hutts? The Hutts, it's different because they kind of are slug-like in their development. But as we've seen in the newest Star Wars movie, some of them can be jacked too. It's crazy.
And I've been thinking about this. Like, it's been keeping me up at night. Like, which of the three do I? And I made like a Venn diagram. I made a flow chart, and I really think it's all three personally. And I would love to go deeper in depth, but that's a subscription. You'll have to, that's for
Bib Fortuna is an interesting character, and we'll talk about that. We'll dive more into him.
And we've talked about it before. We
have. We'll definitely talk more.
Patreons.
Yes. Oh, speaking of which, real quick, sorry to interrupt again, but shout out to our members. My guy Walt Nicholas here, who is Nick. He's on Twitter. I apologize. I'm blanking on exactly your name. If you want to say
Nick
it,
great.
Nick's great. Nick has his own conspiracy theory channel that he's launched, and try to share it out whenever he posts it. Nick, make sure you tag me or something so I can share it out as well. But he's a big supporter of ESPN Louisville Plus. He's our guy here. Shout out. Maybe when we're doing one of these shows, maybe as a member privilege as well, maybe we could have him hop on a call or something like that sometime to join in.
I'd love it.
I don't know.
Absolutely. Yes. If he's willing to do it, absolutely. He's awesome, super kind, friendly, giving person. So shout out, Nick. You know what we feel about you around here. All right, let's all right, if you want, because I know we're kind of running, it's 11 o'clock, so I know we kind of want to get this wrapped up. I'm on summer break, so I don't have the same responsibility as you two, but I want to be respectful of your time as well. So, all right, so there's
I'm enjoying it, so I don't really care, but go ahead. Let's get into it.
All right, so the last two are so Steven Spielberg's doing the tour around right now, promoting the movie and doing interviews about it. So he made two really interesting comments in these two clips, and then let's play them kind of back to back, Justin, and then we can discuss them on the other end. Okay?
Yes, sir.
For me to describe it as my first film that will be considered science fiction that I do not consider to be science fiction. It's much more reflective of the world as it is evolving and discoveries that are being made as we speak. It was really 2017 when the New York Times came out with the story where they basically, a whistleblower had given them the FLIR footage of the Tic Tacs. And
you can pause. I just wanted to get that front part. Okay, so he says, this is my first movie that I've made that's considered science fiction that isn't science fiction. Okay, so ruminate on that for a second. Okay, and let's play the last quote. Now this ties the entire podcast, the entire discussion together. Go ahead.
That were moving anti-ballistically through the air against 120
the other no you can stop it here, Justin. That's okay. Yeah, the other, just go ahead and play the other video if you don't mind.
Power,
this one. Thank you.
To give full disclosure, and I kind of want to get your, from all you guys as we go down the line, just kind of, how do you think the world would react to a disclosure that is kind of like the hope that was in the film one that you believe, or is it one that you kind of yearn for?
No, I was yearning for it when I made Close Encounters, but when I made Disclosure Day, I believed it. That's the difference. And also, one of the things that compelled me to sit down and write this story before collaborating with David Kepler of the screenplay. What started the whole thing was the idea that it's kind of like a proposition. If the unknown is known by a very few, but not everybody, the inequity of that is what first got me to sit down and start writing the story. But the consequences, whether it's unintended or not, the consequences of a real full disclosure is going to have to take into consideration the social dislocation, the essentially, the trauma, and all the questions, theological questions that are going to come up. There's this, I'm not giving too much away, but there's a scene where Eve Hewson, who plays Jane, says, I was raised to believe in a supreme being, and now you're going to show us actual supreme beings. She says the world can't handle both, and she really believes that. So I think it's not an easy decision to make, whoever eventually is going to make it.
Okay. Now you see why I wanted to end on that clip. So a couple things for me, then I want you two to react to it, obviously, but notice again, he brings up like this. He said, well, when I made Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I just kind of wanted to believe it, but when I made this movie, I did believe it. Kind of reasserting this is not fiction, that this is what's going on. And then he talks about how the reaction for the theological questions that it would raise, and then he talks about the scene in the movie. So there's again they're inserting the religious aspect into the movie, like it's going to be. He just confirmed it. It's going to be in the movie, and this is all kind of blowing up. And then there's a couple more things I promise, then I'll shut up. So there's that, and then just a little behind the scenes of, or before they do the Steven Spielberg thing, to tie back into the, how the society react. There's a scientist named Hal Puthoff that he has
Jack
worked
me
on
off?
this top. No, Hal Puthoff. No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Mr.
So that's his
Meow.
brother. That's his brother.
Well, Mr. Meoff usually helps out
Anyway,
with these things.
He's a scientist, and he worked for the government, and he was called in when George W. Bush was president. He was called in to do a research project with other scientists to come up with a numeric system of how society would react if they were to disclose extraterrestrials. So Hal Puthoff was on this committee. He did the assessment. They ran the numbers. So back in the 2000s, he went back to the president and said, hey, this is something that society can't handle. This was during the Iraq War, by the way. Just a side note. This is not something society can handle. We, recommend that you don't disclose that you have extraterrestrials at this time. So, so that's odd too. That was, that portion of it was in the movie. So yeah. So Justin, you're nipping at the bit to go. Go ahead, buddy.
It's one of those issues that I had because I remember hearing stories about when Jimmy Carter was kind of like disclosed back in the 70s, and when he was in office and was kind of given that information, he cried, it traumatized him and made him question a lot of things. It was kind of disheartening to hear, but that is like, and I know we think of a time frame as like this has been such a long time since then, but like our lives are short, our lives are finite compared to what maybe we're told a more intelligent being or something could live much longer. Time could seem way quicker. I wonder, have things changed that much since then? And additionally, has it been a game plan that's been this long in the making, or since the 40s, or since before that they've been doing this? Is my question. So that's where I kind of sit, because it's a little bit difficult for me, because there's still a big part of me that wants to, believe that some part of this is real, but like, is there truth to this? And then it's just, this is all fake. This part is fake. You know what I mean? Because like, there's so much that we talk about when it comes to this, but we are so ingrained. Especially, I know you've been talking on Weird Wednesday for years about, Project Bluebeam and how this is all coming and this is going to be fake and they're going to try to tell it to you like it's real. But then at the same time, we believe that there is something different out there. There is some kind of
100%.
Right. So like, what's the reality then? Where is the reality? What is to be gained in the circumstance for them? I know what's to be gained for them, but what is there is the government like overplaying their hand?
Yeah.
With the reality that there are more intelligent beings out there, and then what happens? It's kind of got me a little bit. That it's not a place that I expected to be right now tonight. If that makes sense. Like just, there's two sides to it, and I can't really marry the two together right now.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I'm conflicted too because I get excited when this stuff is dropped with the files, and I read through them, I look through them, I text about them, like, did you see this one? And da 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 da.
Yeah.
I talk about it on the show, and there's a part of me that I part of me wants it to be real and true and everything, and the other part of me is like, the more I learn and the more I read and the more I listen, the more I like kind of, maybe I see through it now. Maybe I see through the deception and what they're trying to do. So I'm definitely going to go see the movie when it comes out next weekend. So I'll be there watching. Then I'll talk about it. But Anna, what are your thoughts?
How did I become more black-pilled than you, Streble? I don't know, but I just think it's funny. Like I'm over all of it. I see through all of it. I see through all of it. And the thing to me is like, it's so funny how they're like, well, we don't want you guys to overreact and things to get out of hand. So we're going to lie to you. When does that feel okay? The most loving thing you could ever do for somebody is tell them the truth. Guess what, government? It's not your role to lie to us about what you know so we can not go crazy and not react how you don't want us to react. Like that sounds like a dictatorship. That sounds like, I don't know, propaganda. Do you lie about genocide, Yvonne, because you're not okay with how we would react to them? I don't know. It's all sounding like a similar theme to me. Also, I think it's so funny that like they wait. It's like a huge LOL moment to me. They're like, all right, okay, they're finally going to care. We can stir up some controversy, bring this up again. We're the public is so over. Remember like when you and I talked about like the Mexico mummies that they brought into Congress and stuff?
Yes.
I think people are so sick of every story being a non-story. It's like, okay, we're not going to invest the time and energy where there's like real stories worth our time and energy. We don't even care about this anymore. And I just think it's so just like open your eyes and your ears for what's his name? Steven Spielberg to sit there and be like, this is not science fiction. All right. Well, it's science. You're telling me that a story that you made up isn't fiction? In what world? In what fucking world? Because you go to an elementary school library, and if it's a fucking story that's not factual, that's not a biography or autobiography or a fucking memoir, then it's fiction, Steven Spielberg. So are we stupid? Do we not learn how to read? It's fucking science fiction. What the fuck are you talking about? Stop trying to trick us with this. And the whole thing, it's such fascism being like, well, a very few amount of us do know the truth. And like, most people don't. And like, maybe we'll tell you one day. So we're going to hold that over your head. But we know the truth, and that's why we should kill all these people, because we know, but we don't want to hurt your feelings or your poor little ears or heart.
Right.
Tell you about what the truth is. So yeah, screw that. And also, it just like all of this just makes me rethink War of the Worlds. Like, are you fucking kidding me? People weren't dumb.
Yeah.
That was the test run. The test run was like 70, 80 years ago. Like, are you joking?
Orson Welles.
It's so overplayed. I believe none of this. And it's gotten so obvious, it just sickens me. It turns my stomach. And also, I don't even fucking believe in space anymore. I don't believe in the damn moon landing. Okay? It's ridiculous to me. And there's like pictures of like the fucking Pope at the time watching the moon landing. And I'm like, turn that off. I don't believe it. I don't believe in space anymore. I don't believe in any of it. You think I believe that they just like went to the moon again? No. Why would they? Okay, no. Why are they going back to the moon and where aliens are coming back and we're going to disclose it? Why? What else is going on right now?
That's a great point.
Of why we're going to outer space again? Huh? Oh my God, we're not stupid.
That was
great. That was phenomenal.
As Anna was talking, I think I'm sitting back in where I think I know where I sit with this, and I think the more and more I look into it, like, yes, And I think our guy, I feel bad because I've neglected the chat, and our guy Walt and people like that have been, Luther has been talking about this is all a simulation or whatever. But Walt was saying, yeah, Justin, your skepticism is well earned. The government will only use aliens to increase control of the public. Hollywood has been setting this up for decades. Like the creation of Hollywood was all kind of, that's the reason for it. So to me, I think
it's to influence culture, influence opinions, influence politics. Yeah, it's a propaganda machine is what it is. Like you should feel about this, and this is what's cool, and this is what's funny, and this is who's hot, and this is who's not. So yeah.
And I don't want to sound like a crazy, Bible thumper in this, but like that's kind of like more and more that I listen to this, the more and more I sit with it of, the idea of like, maybe these aliens and that the way we conceive them or the way we perceive them isn't real. That's not it. It has to be more of the demonic side to me. Like it just that makes the most sense to me. It just makes the most sense. Yeah. Interdimensional, however, if you want to, I use the term demons as we know it in like biblical text, but also like whatever that kind of interdimensional being is what that is to me, because it just seems like so much of this is set up. I remember it was funny. I saw a video on the TikTok, and it was a woman talking, and it was kind of insane. And like this woman's an insane person, and she's talking about like I talk to the aliens every week and all this whatever stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sitting down, Grandma. I'm gonna listen to what you got to say tonight. I got nothing going on. Spoon feed me this information. So she's talking about all this BS. I talked with Gerlach, the destroyer or whatever, up on the moon, and he's giving me breakdowns of all this kind of stuff. But something very interesting that came to me, and like whether she knows she's insane and saying this or whether she truly believes what she's saying, the one thing that stuck out to me, well, a lot of the names, and it wasn't like Gorlock the Destroyer, I think that's that big chick that pops up in a lot of social media, who it might be a dude, I don't know, but anyway, a lot of the names that they use are like, and this is, Streble, you and I talked about this the one time we've done this before, about like I've gone down the rabbit hole of were the idea of Greek gods, were those something to do with like fallen angels? Because you talk
think about how angels are described in the Bible.
Yes. And the Greek gods are like talked about being kind of assholes, and that's kind of like what they did. What I perceive of how fallen angels would have acted on Earth. Like a lot of the stuff that they did, and they talk about. But the reason I bring that up though is because this woman, the woman, a lot of the names that she uses are associated with these kind of either Greek gods' names or whatever, and they're all, or Nephilim and stuff like that, is how they're related and why they're called for these aliens. And I realize how insane this sounds, but it is. But one thing that she said that stuck out to me that like when I heard though was she talked about that their message to people was that when you're ready to be enlightened, and every time the communication that would be used is that people on Earth would be enlightened. And the one place where we always see that in the Bible talking about being enlightened, it's always demonic. It's always Satan. It's always
the tree of wisdom. Think about the Garden of Eden. You eat from the tree of knowledge. Oh my God.
It's always associated with that. So that's and I think I had my cheeks on each side of the fence right now, and I think I'm gonna move one cheek over to the other side, and I'm now on that's where I sit, and that's where I'm gonna sit on this for right now.
Wow, that was good, Soforo. That was good.
Good, good now, Soforo. Very good. That was great. No, I mean, there are parts of me that believe and not believe, but like agree with both of your takes and your assessments, and the religious side of me sides with you, Justin, and the skeptic black pill side of me agrees with you, man. It's like, and I think that's the point of a lot of this. I think that's the point of a lot of this, is to cause confusion, is to sow distractions, is to look over here and get us to not focus on what's going on in our everyday lives and what's going on to the world. And I think that's the crux of all of it. I think right now, throwing so much at us at once, it's almost kind of like, what can they take before they finally do something super rational. Go ahead,
and
Dana.
I think the points do relate, because I think look at the Schofield Bible and things like that. I think the inspiration to scare us was religious and demon based. I really do. I think there was inspiration, because if you look at how they describe real angels in the Bible, it sounds like a freaking alien. And I'm like, I think that they used that to be like, oh my God, like, what could it be? So I think
Yeah.
our points are very much related about the inspiration and even like what it could be that, I just think they're exploiting that, taking
I mean,
advantage of that.
all the Renaissance, paintings that have what appear to be alien craft UFOs flying around in the background and all that. The things that don't make sense. I mean, I remember watching, my wife hates it when I used to watch it, the Ancient Alien show, or whatever. She was like, don't turn this bull crap off. She hates it. She's like, well, when it comes to that. But it would be one of those things, I'm like, it may be BS. It's whatever. We know that those pyramids are just tombs. We know that. It's the truth. It's been proven. but anyway, but I'll be like, it's fascinating to try to understand our past. John Gerner says, conspiracy theory much, LOL, UFOs are demons now. Oh my God, if that's not compelling evidence that middle America is dumbing down, then I don't know what it is. Sorry, but WTF. Hey, it's fine, buddy.
Take it a step further of like why we think that. Why were we led to believe that?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this. It's fascinating.
Because he knew that I meant nuclear silos instead of nuclear power plants. So shout out to John there as well.
Shout out to John there. Great
look
show.
At this. Our guy Luther can be nice from time to time.
Yeah, that was good. All right, y'all. Let's wrap it up. Our first episode was fantastic. You guys were awesome. It went better than I could have hoped. But yeah, ESPN Louisville Plus After Dark, Weird Wednesdays. Like, subscribe. We'll be doing this throughout the summer. So share, everything you want to do. Thanks for the commenters on the show tonight. And sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but once we get to diving into those, we get really engaged in our discussions and we don't notice it like we should. So we appreciate it. Anna, thank you so much. Justin, thank you so much. And stay weird out there. We'll catch you next Wednesday.
Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all.
Bye.